welcome to another episode of That 60s Recording Podcast, the podcast that has conversations inspired by the golden era of recording. I hope you've all had a wonderful week. I've got a really cool episode up for you this week. The conversation is with Nathan Hawes, who goes by the name of Kesmar. He's an Australian artist that we linked up on Instagram, actually. I think Nathan followed me and I was curious, so I sent him a message and thought, what's this guy about? And then I listened to his music on Spotify and I was completely blown away. I just heard it and instantly it just sounded, I just wanted to listen to all of it. And it was brilliant. So I sent him a message and we started chatting a little bit, and turns out that he recorded a lot of this album analogue, pretty much all of it analogue. And obviously that was just a recipe for, great music. It seems like a really nice chap. So I'm going to speak to him for the podcast. And turns out he's got a really interesting history in the music industry. He's got such an amazing approach to making music and learning, and everything that epitomizes what this podcast is about, he represents. So I'm really, really privileged to have had him on. And coincidentally, actually, his new album called Always Chasing Rainbows is out on May the 12th, which is the day after this goes live. So go to Spotify and pre-save that if that's what you do, or I'm sure you can buy a copy of it if that's what you do. If that's what I do, so that's what I will be doing. The artwork I'm looking at right now is pretty amazing. It's the first record that he's done that he's actually self-produced, and he recorded a lot of the instrumentation himself too. And he did it all to what turns out to be a 16-track machine, but he limited himself to 8 tracks, and you'll find out all about that in the podcast. Really excited to share this one with you. Yeah, go and check out all of his stuff and go and listen to this, to the record when you're listening to this, so May the 12th, called Always Chasing Rainbows, and go and listen to his other stuff too. Everything about the sort of the way it all looks and everything is really cool, and I think if you're into this podcast you'll probably be into the music too. So yeah, go and check that out and enjoy this conversation with Nathan Hawes. Are you ready for my attempt at an advert? Here it comes. Make Noise Pro Audio are specialists in used pro audio equipment, and since 2015 they've been on an endless quest to supply all things modern, old, vintage and obscure. Everything from outboard, microphones, synthesizers, audio interfaces, drum machines, mixing consoles, studio monitors, amplifiers, cabling, furniture and everything in between. Go and check them out at makenoiseproaudio.co.uk. Sam's a lovely chap. Definitely go and do it. Enjoy the episode. If we just start off, just talk me through the new records. Not describe it necessarily musically, but talk just if you could sort of just discuss it from your perspective, what it's about, what's the inspiration behind it, how's it come about, all that kind of stuff.
So the new record is it's kind of like my first time, I guess, like properly going into like doing everything myself, which I'd done previously with a good friend of mine from Melbourne. His name is Tobias, and he's like just yogi teacher kind of guy. I think everyone has one of those, or everyone knows when they have one, because they just feel so blessed to have someone that can just show them kind of all the ins and outs so quickly. But yeah, so I did a lot of previous music with him for this project, and then it kind of came to COVID, and I was like meant to start this record with him, but then we were kind of like separated. So I was kind of just like, I already kind of had like a setup, and like I kind of somewhat knew what I was doing, but still to do a whole record front to back by myself was kind of a big challenge. But it kind of came out of necessity, and then it just went into a rabbit hole of just buying a whole lot of gear and continuing to keep going on the studio. But yeah, the inspiration just came from just wanting to make records. Really, I've always loved I guess the golden age of recording of late 50s, 60s, and 70s, and towards like the later end of the 70s. So yeah, I've always just loved that music, and all the artists that I love are record artists. So it's always been like a dream to do a record, and then to be able to self-produce it and self-play it as well. Yeah, it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. But yeah, I guess it's kind of like the main starting point of this record, and yeah, it's been a great like kind of adventure. And like I'm still quite new to everything really. Like I haven't been doing it for a long time, but yeah, I'm super blessed to just be able to make music and fiddle around in my studio all day.
It doesn't feel like you're new to it based on kind of what I've been listening to and what I can see. It seems like, I mean, clearly you're experienced in the songwriting aspect of things. So yeah, it feels like you're quite confident in that you know what the sound is that you want. You know whether the, sort of the way of getting there is new or what, but it feels confident. Like like it feels like you know what you're doing essentially.
Right. Yeah, maybe it yeah, it feels like I don't know what I'm doing, but maybe it comes across slightly different. But yeah, I mean I've been songwriting for a while, but yeah, I feel like I just have so much to give, and now I feel like I'm starting to get a lot closer to the sound that I've been chasing for so long. So yeah.
I can hear that with the listening through to your sort of first releases as Kesmar, the sound has progressed from the first single you had Up to You is quite compared to the new record. There are some songs you've had some singles out from it already, so there's some songs that people can listen to right away. I'd say that's quite. It feels. It's got the sort of 70s, almost a bit like funk and a little Motown sort of style to it, but at the same time, it's got that little bit more weight behind the kit sound, and there's a bit more processing on it, and then it seems to have got more and more refined as your releases have gone on. Where suddenly this new album is, the word I was thinking about when I was listening through to it is it just feels honest. Like it feels like it's just musicians, I mean you playing instruments, and there's nothing, there doesn't feel like there's any smoke and mirrors there. It just feels like a really honest representation of what you wanted, and I can hear all the detail really clearly. The mix feels honest, the writing feels honest. You can hear everything about it. Just feels like I recognize all of these sounds, but not in this concoction. And it feels quite different from the first release, which is almost, it has elements of that in it, but there's definitely a bit more processing there from what I can hear.
Yeah, I think the main thing kind of came from it was I was writing like folk music when I was like really young. I don't know, like, but it wasn't like cooler kind of like 60s folk. It was like 2000s-y kind of folk.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
I was there too.
Totally. But yeah, so like kind of just like a backstory is how I got to where I am now. I was doing this folk music, and then I got signed to a major label, and then I was like, no, I don't want to like play this Ford core thing anymore. I want to try some stuff, so I like go write with all these people, and so I kind of did that for a while, and then I was just that first kind of EP that I did was just written with so many different people, and I was like, I don't really understand like what I want to do, or like kind of what I want to be. So I think that's kind of that's the way it sounds, which is quite funny that you say this newer record sounds a lot more honest, because I guess it is just me, and like I have kind of refined what I want it to sound like. But yeah, it kind of just came from then not being on a major label and being able to do the music that I want to make, and pulling out all of these references that I'd love forever. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's kind of coming across that way.
Do you feel like when, having gone through all of that experience, when you're writing now, you're sort of writing freer and almost in spite of feeling as though you were pressured to write in a particular way when you had almost had people to deliver to, whereas now you only have yourself to deliver to. So you're kind of writing for you. So you presumably it feels a bit freer, but you're almost feeling like, well, I can do what I want now. So are you flexing because you can do what you want, or is it just is that what you just feel, you're just sort of happy writing like this? I don't mean it sounds like you're flexing, but are you consciously trying to deliberately pull against it?
I think so. I think like being on a major label when I was from like 18 to I don't know, I was like 18 years old to like 22 or 23. It was like I learned a whole lot in that way, and I think like the best lesson that I learned from it was just to like write the music that you want to make, and that will always shine through, like no matter what. And you can always tell when someone's excited about their music, whether it's selling millions of copies or it's selling nothing. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. And I think learning that at such a young age was just like so valuable, because now I get to just do what I want to do. And I think with the way the industry goes, you can still I guess like make somewhat of a living out of it, and be your own A&R, I guess, or whatever that is.
Well, that's it. With Instagram and the way, that's how we've got in contact with each other. It's the world's your oyster in a sense. As long as you've got the mentality to want to do it, because it's a tough slog. But then that is quite liberating, being knowing that you can write and have an audience there. No one's gatekeeping the audience for you. You've got direct access to them.
Yeah. I think it's just a weird world, and I guess they say that the music industry isn't struggling; it's the record industry that's struggling.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
It's the labels that are trying to play catch up now. But yeah, it's just such a valuable lesson, and now I have just so much freedom, and yeah, just learning the ins and outs at the time I hated it, but now I'm really thankful, because it is a lot of it at the same time as like having it as a business, and understanding who is going to try to steal your money.
I mean, I know so many people from my time in bands. I sort of just do the drum side of it now, but we toured with so many different artists who got signed to major labels or got did, and for a very split second it was enormously exciting for them. And then we've seen, say there was 20 that we knew, 2 of them are now names that people know of, and the other 18 are just have gone, do you know what, this is ridiculous, I don't want to be part of this anymore, and that's the end. I think it's so sad to see people's careers ruined like that.
It's just like the sad truth, and it's like I could tell you so many bands as well from here, that great bands that didn't really have many internal issues. It was just like they had a $100,000 debt or something. The label one day were like, you have to pay back now, or, so it's just, and the label's going to be fine. They've got other acts, but for the artist, they're just left, with nothing. So I think, and so many of the time, like I've gone through it, and I've had buddies go through it, and like I have friends going through it now of trying to get out of contracts and everything, and they're still held in there, and then at the end of the day, they don't want to go make music because they don't know if it's going to come out and everything. So it can be like such a crippling thing.
You seem to have flipped it into quite a positive thing. It is quite a negative side of the industry. But if you can either just disappear into yourself and feel aggrieved about it, or you can just go, do you know what, this is the situation, and I'm just going to do what I want anyway, and work my way. This is the game at the end of the day, and I'm going to play the game, but I'm going to play it by my rules, and that seems to be what you've done, and I think that's a cool mentality to have. Yeah,
you're exactly right.
I'd love to just dive down into sort of the nitty gritty of the approach that you did into the record. So is it you playing everything on it?
Yeah, I had my friend Paddy play drums on like 3 tracks, just because I'm not really a drummer at all. But yeah, if a part got too hard, my friend Paddy would get a call. But yeah, the rest was just me here in my little home studio.
I've said it before. As a drummer, one of the things I love most is having tracks sent to me where the writer is playing on it. I think whether you think whether they think you're a drummer or not, hearing exactly what it is that you want translated into a drum set. Whether the sounds are right
Yeah.
or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just the feel and
Yeah.
your approach to playing the kit. Suddenly, as a drummer watching that, it's like,
Mhm.
oh wow,
Yeah.
that's what you wanted, and I immediately get it.
Totally. I think that just comes from the childlike mindset of writing music that I think is one of the most important parts. And like drums was kind of like the thing that I learned most recently, like only a couple of years ago. But yeah, for so long, I just kind of just be like obsessed with it, and still obsessed with it, obviously. But when I first started, it was like then starting to come into the songwriting of like just having a beat and then being able to write over that. But I think, yeah, the childlike mindset is just like so important, and because when you've been playing an instrument for so long, you sit at it, and a lot of the time it can not be inspiring because you've done the same fill a million times, or you played the same chords a million times. So to see someone that is approaching it from a place of I guess not understanding a whole lot about it can actually be really exciting. So yeah, I love it for that.
Did you? I read in an interview that you did about your writing starting often with piano and also with a drum sound. So when when you've kind of got a germ of an idea, or you're starting to work on an idea, are you taking inspiration from sort of a feel from a track that maybe you're listening to another artist and you think, I want to write a song that's in this vein, so then you start off with a drum sound, and or how does it all work for you?
Yeah, usually it just comes from I think when I guess you want to make a sound that is so kind of like specific to a time, it's like, I think one of the most important things is just kind of knowing that music at the same time, and like listening to it and knowing like the ins and outs of it, so that when you go time to make it, you can hopefully get close to what you're trying to achieve. So I think the first thing is just like listening to a whole lot of music, and then that subconsciously kind of seeps its way into the chords I play. But to put it in like a method for this record, and for like the way I write now, I've written for a while, is like I'll write the whole song on piano usually, because I learned guitar when I was younger, and now when I get on guitar, I know all the chords that I'm playing, so I'm not exactly inspired with it. But where piano is only like a couple of years of playing, so it's like I kind of know what I'm doing, but at the same time I really have no idea, so it's like a whole lot more exciting. So yeah, for this record, it was just pretty much 90% just written on the piano, just front to back, and I just smash it out. I used to, like, all my demos would be like, I'd like loop a drum beat, and then I do a verse and a chorus, and then I just like copy paste it over, and then I come to write the second verse, and it'd take like 2 weeks to write a verse. So I think quickly I learned that I needed to have that other side of me that was just pushing me to finish it front to back, because otherwise it just takes so long to get back into the mindset of the original idea. But yeah, usually it will come from a groove, and that will kind of it will kind of like help me figure out how, like, what tempo I'm going to play the song in, and then I'll write all the lyrics, and then I'll just play the kit just straight to the tape, just play the whole song in my head, and then usually do the piano, then the bass, and then the guitar, and then do like a vocal with like one harmony, and that's usually like 8 tracks on tape, and then I'll kind of leave it, and then like maybe a week after I'll come back and listen to it, and like very quickly I'll be able to tell if it's going to be a good idea or not. If I can't get it to sound good on the basics on 8 tracks of tape, then I'm not I'm not touching it. So I think the initial idea has really to be
shows.
strong.
Yeah, I mean, that shows on the record so much. That is one of the points that I kind of mentally made when I was listening to it, that the way, going back to that word honest, the way the way it is with the instrumentation and the sounds that you've got going on, it's not, there's no choice but for the playing to be great, the parts to be great, everything, the songwriting to be great. It all has to be great, because there's no hiding behind any gimmicks. It's just, that's all you've got now. So it's really interesting to hear that that's the way you think about it.
Yeah, I think because I grew up in a digital age. I think, and like I just feel like I am also I do feel like I'm late to the game. Because for so long I was just like recording on like, Logic or whatever. So I think I just spent so many years kind of just beating my head against the wall of, just songwriting in general and production, and not being like truly satisfied with it and happy. But I think it was the end of the day, it was just like came down to the songs, and that was something that I just learned like super quickly. And then I kind of delivered a method that I could kind of, because I mean, doing it by yourself, it can just be so hard to look back on something and know when it's done, or like know if it's even good or not. So I think I kind of had that method, and it kind of just stuck and worked. And it was just like, if I can't get it to sound good on 8 tracks, with the whole song written, then I'm not touching it. I'll just move on.
So are you writing pretty much exclusively to an 8-track machine?
Well, I've got a 16-track, a Tascam one that I literally just limited. I only plugged in 8 tracks.
I wondered if is that your studio? So I saw you had a drum session last week, I think, and I saw the video. So that's your studio space with your 16-track?
Yeah. So I got a Tascam MSR 16, which is like a 1/2 inch. But yeah, I've been I demo on that just because it's just like such a workhorse. I don't think it sounds amazing or anything. But yeah, I only plugged in like 8 tracks because I was like, if I'm writing, because I've already started writing this next record, and I was like, writing this next record, I'm not even plugging in the other 8 tracks because I know I'll use them. So I'm just limiting myself. But for this record, Always Chasing Rainbows, that is coming out, I bought an Atari MX70 16-track 1-inch, and it like broke the first day I got it. Which was, I kind of had like this idea. I'm like, because I've had this 1/2 inch for so long, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna spend the money and get like a great like 1-inch Atari, like with the remote and everything, and it's gonna be like amazing. And I just got it, and it's still getting repaired.
The reality of tape ownership.
That's totally the reality. But yeah, so I still demo on the MS16, but yeah, I only just plug 8 tracks in just as like a proper limitation, just because I think just the solo writing and producing thing, you need that thing like a tape machine to limit you a lot of the time, because you'll just go forever. And I think that's why I went to tape. Anyway, was obviously for the sound, but for most of it, honestly, for the method of having, it's almost like a second person there, being like, you have to commit to this, and you're only limited to this. Like, you can't just go forever. At being brought up in an age where you can have like 1,000 tracks in a door or something. So, I almost just see it as a second person there, just punching me down all the time and helping me.
I think it's interesting as well, the idea of making demos in a DAW. There often feels a bit of pressure to make them sound quite clean. I don't think it's a pressure that is no one's said it, but when you're doing it, you kind of you put in a mic up, or you plug in direct into into your interface or whatever. If you're putting down bass, or using an amp sim on Logic, if you're just demoing in the moment, suddenly it comes out sounding a bit clinical and a bit. It's very difficult to have any vibe on it when it's that way. And all the tape machines, just ingrained in the process and the sound, they sound a little bit grubby. So suddenly it papers over a little bit of those imperfections and lets you focus straight on, well, is the song any good, and is the part any good, and rather than worrying about all of, I don't know, like over clinical details that come off if you're just doing it digitally. So it's an interesting way. Well, I can see why you would go the route you've gone, essentially.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I don't know, a demo for like the music that I like to make, and that I guess we all love listening to this podcast, is like, if you listen to any of those demos from like the early 70s of like John Lennon, or like anything from the 60s, is like, they you know, they're obviously not at a computer compiling like all these tracks, as most of the time it's like the rawest thing that comes out really. And at the end, it's like that's the most beautiful a lot of the time, and that's why I mean I love listening to demos, like old demos. It's like one of my favorite things. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like a demo should just be what it is, and it's like, you know, you still want to try and get a good recording, but at the end of the day, you want the song to shine through, and then later when you're doing the official recording or whatever, that's even if you get to it. Sometimes the demo is just great. So, yeah, I think it's just a whole lot of fun, and I think, yeah, I don't know. I have this conversation with like a lot of people all the time of like my age being 25. It's like everyone was brought up in a digital age, and now everyone wants a tape recorder, but then they'll like call each other or call me and be like, but how do I plug it in? And I'm like, you can work a DAW with 1,000 tracks and all these plugins and like, you know, downloading software and everything, but you can't like plug in, you know, 4 RCAs or something into an input and output. It's just like, it's crazy. But at the same time, yeah, like all my friends are just tripping out on it because it's so much fun.
I mean, getting really specific, that is one of the major differences is it's RCA connections, not jack connections. And like as a kid, that the only time you ever saw connections like that was on your console or the back of your TV. That's the only time I've ever seen them. And then I bought a tape machine. It's like, oh shit, right? It's all RCA connections. Right? Wow. Okay.
Totally. But yeah, it's just coming from a different time, and I think obviously a lot of it comes from the love of all the music produced then. But yeah, at the same time, it's just a workflow that just feels so kind of alien-like when you first get into it. But then it just becomes natural, and yeah.
So how did you approach so in terms of sort of like guitar sounds or drum sounds, did you have a conscious approach to sort of say minimal miking on the kit or a specific way of miking up guitars, or how did you approach kind of the sort of engineering and production side of things?
With no idea really.
I love it.
No, I mean, I just like try something, and then I'd go to bed and read like sound on sound interviews until like early in the morning. So yeah, I always knew that I wanted to limit my track space, and yeah, I guess just again, it comes back to the tape machine, just kind of enforcing you to mic things with less mics. And you know, I think with the whole like playing thing as well, it's like trying to get everything out of an instrument was just so important for this record. But yeah, for drums, it was usually just like, yeah, just a dynamic on the kick and the snare, and then like a mono overhead really, and then maybe some tom mics if I had them as reso, if I had the reso heads off as concert toms. But yeah, everything was just like super minimal. Like the bass would just like DI and then go to a guitar amp for the blend, and then that was like one track. But yeah, I did do most of the vocals in the DAW, just because they just took a bit more time, and there was just like a whole lot of kind of harmonies and everything that I didn't really want to be working on a tape flow for that. Of course. Especially being on like 16 tracks, it'd be different if I had like 24 tracks and an assistant punching me in for every vocal harmony. But yeah, I guess it just comes back to that thing of just like trying to get everything out of like an instrument and a microphone and a preamp. Because you know, like the way that the kind of music world is going with like analog gear, it's just like just getting harder and harder to get your hands on. So I think it was just like a whole lot of like buying and selling, and then just like using what I could use with like the budget that I was on. But yeah, everything was like quite minimal, and I did change studios 3 times when making this record. So like,
oh right, house moves, or how did that? Why did that come about?
The first house we were in, it was in like a big kind of like shed thing, but then it just like flooded one day, and it's just like just the worst. There was really really bad floods here in Australia like about a year and a half ago. Okay. And kind of everyone's studios and houses, you know, flooded, but not too much got damaged. And then we moved to another place, and then that got knocked down for like these skyscrapers. So now we're in the place that we're in now. But yeah, I guess kind of coming back to your question, everything was just trial and error really. And I think coming back to that kind of childlike mindset, and not trying to let the like engineering brain kind of come in, because I never studied engineering or anything. Yeah, and then my buddy Tobias, who I was talking about before, I just call him whenever I had an issue.
Everybody needs one of those people.
Yeah, I think when the forums don't exactly help you out, you need like some Yogi Bear who can just like put it to you straight and solve your problems in like a 6 month, time of trying to find the answer to online.
I'm just sort of listening to it all, and I think what strikes me is how sort of scary this approach that you've got is for, having gone through I was in a similar position to you, grew up digital and experimenting in sort of analog stuff. And so, there's not, it's quite scary, the idea of approaching a whole record without having got that experience. And I wonder, have you, I'm just sort of like essentially analyzing it, like the idea of you going and getting involved in the major label side of things, and then having all of that experience. I love the idea that now that you're not chasing this goal that a lot of people don't attain, and you've been there and done it and realized that the grass isn't greener, and that's given you the freedom and possibly the confidence, because that it's not. Failure isn't not achieving a major label contract. It's you've already done that, so there is no failure really anymore. You can only just have fun, and that's it's a freeing mentality when you're approaching sort of specifically analog recording and something that you don't really know much about. And we've got the internet to answer questions and friends to answer questions. There really isn't an excuse, and it's just inspiring to hear you sort of going, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I read loads and I just sort of jumped in feet first, and here I am, and you've got a great record to show for it.
Yeah, I think that's just like the most important part, is just like, I don't know, I love learning, and at the same time, like probably everyone who listens to this podcast is like, music is their hobby as well, and sometimes it can also be, your business and your way of income, but it's like at the main source of it, it's like my love is music and songwriting, but then my hobby isn't like golf or something. It's like having having a studio and like staying awake at night figuring out how to plug a patch bay in and everything. Maybe that's just like my OCD side coming in and wanting everything to be in its place. But yeah, I don't know, I think it's just like and at the same time it's like the feeling is fun of plugging stuff in and like trying different mic techniques and everything. I guess that's why I've always had a home studio. It's just I don't want to pay a lot of money to go into a really expensive studio and not be able to experiment, because I'm on a time restraint. So and most of the artists that I love all are home recording kind of geeks as well. So yeah, it was just it took a while, but then it was just a very obvious road that I wanted to take to be able to be like completely self-sustainable.
How did you mix this record too, didn't you? Yeah, how did you approach the mix side of things? Did you bounce off the tape into the DAW and mix inside the box, or how did that all work?
Yeah, it was a bit of both, I guess. It was kind of just like I'd get a new piece of kit and then I'd like run something through there, and then I'd get another piece of kit and I'd be like, oh, I'll try run it through here. Like I've had this plugin, but now I've got the real thing. I'll try this. So I think, again, it was just like experimenting, and I guess just like the main part was just using my ears, because for so long I was just like looking at a screen at, where like a kick drum was coming in on the beat, and then like moving that, and then I'd move the bass and everything, and that could also like be translated in a mix of just like listening to it in the whole side of, I guess it's an interesting one when you, I guess, like produce and you play it and then you engineer it and then you record it. I think you can kind of, I guess, like when it comes to mixing, I'm not really think of mixing. I'm kind of just like balancing everything out because I've hopefully tried to eliminate any problems at the source. But yeah, in terms of mixing, I had a Tascam 48 half inch, like kind of grayish one that I stupidly sold. That thing was like amazing. But yeah, I'd usually do all the drums in that, and then if a lot of the time I didn't really want to bounce the drums down to one channel just because I wanted to be able to just have just some more leeway, because I wanted the record to be kind of like a more like mid-70s kind of slightly sleeker thing. But yes, I do like all the drums on there, and then I'd bounce it back, and then I'd kind of just build it up, and then I'd kind of just go between that machine a lot, and then the 16 tracks. So it was kind of, it just get bounced around a lot, and because I don't have like a large format console, it kind of had to be that way until I got this Yamaha console that I've got now, and now I can pretty much do everything. Without the computer, but I think that was definitely a time where I just had to kind of go around, and I just had to kind of just sit there, just bouncing stuff in and bouncing it out. Because it was kind of just like a reality. I always like when I got the MX70 1-inch, I was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna cut this whole record on this tape machine, and I'd got this new console, and I was like, this is gonna be the sound, and then like it just didn't work straight away. So it was kind of just straight back to bouncing things around from the DAW to the tape. But yeah, again, it was just learning, and again, I'd kind of just limit myself inside of my DAW in terms of like I'd use just like one reverb on everything, or like I'd use like just my spring reverb on my space echo or something. So yeah, and that just came from just like learning of how they used to mix records. They'd have like a couple of 1176s and blah blah blah. They couldn't go crazy, so I tried to keep that mindset in my head the whole time.
When I dream of you lift away the clouds and show me the blue. We're in a world where there is only room for two.
So there we go, part one of my conversation with Nathan Hawes, aka Kesmar. As I say, that record is out tomorrow. You've just heard 2 tracks from it in the opening and the outro of that. So yeah, go and check that out. And I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Kesmar is spelled Kesmar, in case you weren't sure. You will have seen it written on the title of the podcast, but just saying it to cover all bases, all right? I just want to be efficient. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. That just leaves me to say you can find me on Instagram at Joe Montague Drums or at All You Need Is Drums. You can check out the Beatles things I do on allyouneedisdrums.com. A huge thank you to Adam Maddock for designing the artwork for the podcast, and to Joe Kane for the intro and outro music. And a huge thank you to you for listening. And I will be back next week with more from Nathan Hawes. Goodbye.